you know, people, and I was saying that back then.
But if you forget,
People are like, you're
it
crazy,
is like,
whatever.
oh shit.
But the thing about it though is that now people are calling Monday morning quarterback and being like, yeah, he's wacky, crazy, and he say crazy shit, but he doesn't mean
Do it while
it.
he's speaking.
Duh!
Yeah.
Duh! Wasn't I saying that back then?
Right.
And the thing is like, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have done that. Yeah, maybe he shouldn't have. Because guess what? Talk about opening up a Pandora's box. Yeah, maybe
Well,
he should
it's
have been
not.
up his damn committees.
I mean,
He
you
was
can
wacky, and he said wacky shit. And he would wander off
Yeah.
and I kept saying, he's like, oh yeah, but he did this. And Golden Lines, they got like he and like Emmanuel Cleaver are like best friends. You know? And I'm like, yeah, and I have Emmanuel Cleaver on the record talking about they're a close friendship. The thing is though, is that nobody believes because it's a perfect narrative of like, you bring up a committee saying people crazy wacky shit, and you're opening up something you don't want to open up. And here we are today. Because here's the thing, is that you just said more to say, he's not throwing her off her committees for something worse than what Steve King said. What Steve King said is much tamer. Wait a second, Steve King was throwing off his
It was good. It was a good day.
and what some of your members said
Really good.
is much worse
Long
than
day.
what Steve King said.
It was good.
So then what's the bar?
Pretty, but I got everything I needed.
You're in a bunch of tosses.
Yeah.
Trying to catch up.
Have I, who, Pelosi? No, I got her like 4 times yesterday. That sounds like that was a whole swamp of photos. Like, see this 11 a.m.?
Yeah, so,
I know.
well, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, I just walked into the
I'm
other
great.
studio, thanks.
See the 11 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was surprised myself.
Good morning, how are you? Good.
And today, 4:30 to 5:30 is
Oh, sure. See you guys on the call.
the flag oppressor or something.
No, we're just like stand outside.
And then go yeah.
A couple of things. I did talk to the 11 o'clock.
Yeah, she didn't say anything yesterday, but she said
Really into, you know, like you said, maybe run next door, so maybe they have to be
yes.
either to that, please. Okay. And then the other thing here, it could be anything on purpose. It could be hard to bring, you know, I don't know. And then number 2, I start with I will pull followers.
So, can you just
Order or whoever's first come first served.
Okay, so basically,
So no one's shooting.
well, yeah, you see, it was because Twitter keeps on changing their process. And that was
like
like
it
about,
is.
Yeah, it's a piece of great tape all over.
basically, I'm just letting you know, at the time, the process was maybe it's different.
And
But like,
Pelosi in particular,
I had, like, I knew someone who was working at Twitter at the time who was like,
trying to get it. And I think when I
and I
get to
said,
this
you have to get your social
Schumer
media
thing.
person, because obviously Bloomberg,
I did not. Yeah, let's get it down.
Yeah,
no, Bloomberg has to, since you're a Bloomberg employee, you have to talk to your social media people and say, hey, can you contact Twitter and tell them that I work for you, and they take care of it.
No, that's exactly right.
Because it's fast, late February. FBNers logged in, I told them, I said, I'm really just interested in anything you guys are doing, we're coming our way. We're a good exchange, fast exchange. Yeah, so
Yes,
it's
it is.
dropped off the front.
Yeah, I asked that
But
too.
he did
But he
another,
easily, but it actually also does help if you're like frames and stuff.
yeah.
There, it actually makes the photo easier.
I didn't.
I don't think so, that's what I told Pat, I called Pat to tell him, yeah, but if you guys hear something, because I'm not.
I was just finding out how often
Got it.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Very good, thank you. Appreciate it, appreciate it.
she gave a great response last week. I don't know.
No rules for any.
Yeah, it's just Jake at punchbowl.news. Oh, sorry. I have to. Yeah, send me your. I will.
All my emails transferred over. That what?
That's right.
Talk into the hot mic.
I didn't say anything bad, did I?
No, I'm saying Evansville, Illinois is gonna be
441-86, 8865.
emailing you.
Jake, your phone was the same?
441-8864, yep. Now I just said my phone.
It's okay. Everything I said to you, I would have said to you.
Well, if people call me and I don't wanna talk to them, I just wanna answer.
Not.
Not news. I just sent you an email.
Oh, okay, yeah. see how it goes. We'll talk, okay?
I mean, I'm not real, worried about like, the vote nominating.
Hey, Jack.
Too late.
Yeah, or the administration already seen it. Or they, or they're involved. Just go in there and make noise. Okay. I don't need anything.
No, surprised, like in the Senate, they've been putting them up on
Okay,
the rise
thank
to
you.
get more people in.
Road sweep.
The big crashes.
To be fair, Dario Franchitti has turned into no.
Rarely. Or they'll come in right at the end and.
Yeah.
Says the Chinese guy, so.
Careful, big truck.
True. Says the yay guy. So, please.
Maybe. I don't know who jacket that is. Kinda like a tennis.
What's up? I know. I'm sure it's what, everything's happening. There's this, there's this thing coming up next week. No idea. I haven't heard anything yet.
Probably the same, I guess you have to pull those arrivals
Right. It's arrivals and departures.
and then Ohio clock.
Yeah.
Ugh. The picture was last week of the very non-ceremoniously carrying of the.
Yeah. The article of impeachment.
She's
Yeah, she
gonna
just
hold
had
it
it in the
out.
Longwood
Just
three
like that.
twenty-three.
Good deal. You live down here and being able to rest up at all.
You're assuming that he does.
And I'm sure right when that ends, there'll be some yeah,
The
it'll be early.
By what, 1:30?
Yeah, exactly.
1 to
We'll
1:30?
see.
Well,
It's
that's-
still waiting for,
They gotta vote on the rule.
I'd rather it be like this.
Oh, well, I just think I don't want to until this summer, the vote for,
Yeah.
well, it said there's 15 more minutes, and there's 1 hour per day. Come in at noon.
I went home for New Year's
And,
Eve, couldn't make it back for Christmas. It was
Votes
kind of funny doing
on
some
rule.
with my parents. But that was nice.
Votes on the
You know,
rule
it's just
for
too tough to
Patriots,
coordinate
keep
everything.
going 1:30.
Especially now that like we're pretty close with vaccination and whatnot. No, they haven't. They're
So they gotta vote on the
60,
rule,
so
then they'll vote on,
they haven't come in
so
for
yeah,
it.
2.
So they haven't needed it.
Those won't take
But they're
45
homebodies
minutes.
anyways. They're pretty content
Yeah,
to
pretty.
not have to see people. Like my dad can play golf and work in our yard
Yeah.
without. He's content to do yard work and not see anyone. Your folks doing all right back in?
You think that late?
Yeah, they got.
Oh, really?
That's yesterday.
Yeah, so it might be like 3 days.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
trying to
'Cause
arrange
this is
that.
today,
But now that
9:30.
I kind of assumed that
Voting on
a
the
lot of
rule
people,
at
more
1,
people in
1:30.
would have gotten it.
You never heard
But
back
let's
from
see how
Tricia on
police
that thing?
No.
get those doses secured today.
Yes.
Are
I told
you
Michael
guys
to
getting
come in
any
later.
sanitation?
Yeah.
He's coming in, he should be coming in anytime now, going up to her office,
Um,
to Green's office. Wait for her.
I don't know, we'll see, but it seems like she's plugging along.
But who
Okay.
would be?
I know
She
her
might have been for the
second
premium,
dose
but
yesterday.
they didn't have one.
She works in healthcare. So she's fired up. But
Which one did I get?
Like I
I have no clue. I probably should ask that.
seen all of them out.
Vice president we have to go through?
What's the most recent
Yeah,
one
there's,
that just came out?
I went through his schedule
It's not the Johnson &
whatever
Johnson.
the Samsung was.
It's one of the.
Pfizer was the 3 weeks and Moderna was the 4 weeks.
Okay, she got the Moderna then. Feel like
Vice president?
No, no, we're talking about something else.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she'll
Our
She'll
mom
definitely
came
go.
by and she works in healthcare.
The best way to
Greenville,
catch her
oh,
is to,
Um,
But we can't really
Right.
shoot them going
Um,
into the house floor.
for
Is it Lombard?
other vaccines
Yeah,
coming out.
Auburn 1023.
I don't know how to go about that, but
Well,
I'm happy to be
yeah,
here.
for office, cause I don't know what holiday she
Yeah,
takes.
send my
Okay.
date.
I bet she gets a car
Are you
ride.
voting on it?
Yeah, she is.
Walk up in town,
Not that
Not
one.
in,
walk up in town.
well, she's back.
I mean, it's 2 times.
But not
She,
in.
she was traveled last week, she was
I
in
don't know.
Saudi and,
It's,
and.
Well, from her office,
She's been, and then she was leaving.
straight to the basement.
oh, your Dick River or the wall?
Although when she
Or,
was in
Canada.
Cannon Town.
Right,
That's not.
It's like right there.
and it's all like before she goes, she can't talk about it.
Well, it's kind of half one,
Right, yeah, she can talk about it only after.
6-1, half dozen the other, right? Because
pretty
she's
cool.
on the far end
And
of Long
did she say anything
right?
about
Like, so like the
participation
southwest
with
corner
her?
of Long
She noticed?
No, I mean, it sounds like on the
So-
basis of
Well, she's not at her office yet. Lots of us got there and said there's no change. Is there a lot of people outside? No, no changes or anything?
There's Louis and Scotty are outside.
Who?
Louis and Scotty,
Oh, okay.
and then Alex is probably over
Lurking somewhere.
Canada as well, so.
Oh, out upstairs. That's a nice picture. If she walks through the light.
Exactly.
I'm here. I get to stay here. I don't have a check, I can check.
You don't have what?
I don't have a side of swamp. Or Schumer's jungle.
Yeah, Schumer's not just
I get
over
the
today.
cat.
I mean, what's in your,
Go over there.
yeah, I'll just, grab my jacket and
They
go
got
in.
Why is it dark outside?
Dome, the background. Also, there's like a bunch of people, so. Oh, that's weird, she's on the flash.
Right, because they're gonna be in shade.
I moved it for,
They're gonna be in shade, and the Capitol's gonna be 4
yeah.
stops brighter, cause it's a bright sunny day today. I'm gonna pass on that.
Probably get some fresh air.
True, there's always tomorrows. They had session tomorrow.
Yes, because, well, they have this, a million votes starting Saturday.
Oh, they're tomorrow. They told me they're gonna be there on Saturday.
Ducks in a row.
Yeah, it might not be an option to do both by the time she gets here. I'm not gonna kill myself to go there.
Guys are on a bunch of times in the past week. Get in the shade.
Hey guys,
I just never find information.
it's Ann, and I never post these in newsletters, which I often these days.
Okay.
That's when I got home, it was like 5 o'clock yesterday.
Yeah, I was,
That's right, Jim had to leave. His
yeah, I
wife
should
was-
have,
His wife was flying out.
I was, you know, doing a lot of cool stuff. I had everything on, like I was about to go, I was like, traffic.
I know. It's half of this country.
It's like 2 Super Bowl stadiums filled with people.
That's what I was jamming back when I do it.
The rest of the world is just shaking their head.
Like 70 million people. That's like 3 Rio de Janeiro, no, 3 Sao Paulos.
wandering around, some time off, and we found a roping stanchion store. We took our picture with like all these
You gotta
different
make it
roping
someplace.
stanchions. Yeah, it was so funny. We like just stood there.
You want to double it?
Yeah. We figured something, we were just waiting for something to happen, you know?
Poor Charlie. Is anybody from the gallery here?
Nope.
You're on your own, Scotty.
What will I do?
You guys know how we behave unsupervised.
Let me get some ropes up and tie you guys down so you don't jump on top of each other.
Thank you. She's in the green room, 2 minutes.
Thank you. There's a joke there somewhere.
Good morning, everyone. Busy time in the Capitol. This week we are doing the budget. Yesterday I was very proud of the vote that we had on the floor of the House. You've heard me say again and again that our budget is a statement of our national values. What is important to us as a nation should be prioritized in our budget. I commend the chair of the Budget Committee, Mr. Yarmouth, and the members of the committee for the great work that they did bringing it to the floor, and Mr. Don Beyer, the chair of the Joint Economic Committee, for his work in the debate yesterday as well. I'm very proud of the vote. Remember, what we do here is always to honor our oath of office, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And that Constitution has as its preamble our guidance for a budget. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and for our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution. So it's about the Constitution and the liberties and the form of government that it contains, but it's also our value statement. So I'm very pleased that it passed a budget resolution. We passed a budget resolution that paves the way for the passage of landmark coronavirus legislation that will save lives and livelihoods. We hope that the Republicans will join us in support. We would prefer that, but we need to have the leverage to proceed whether they do or not. We need to act now because it's urgent and Americans cannot afford any further delay. Our committees now will continue to work on the bill context. So that will be all, but as soon as the Senate finishes their work and then we pass on what they did, so hopefully that's in the next 48 hours, then we can signal that we're ready to mark up the bills. We can file the bills. Our committee We'll work on the text, as I said, so that the Biden relief package will put money, we're putting money in people's pockets, vaccinations in people's arms, children in school, workers and to work. And speaking of back to work, also this week, I'm very pleased with the legislation, the National Apprenticeship Act of 2021. As soon as we'll be debating that and voting on it tomorrow. But that is very important legislation for us to have training for the workforce development piece of anything we do is very important. As we prepare to go beyond this rescue package, which is what this bill, the bill I'm talking about now, and then to the recovery bill. Recovery bill will be about many other things, including infrastructure, and workforce development is very important there. In preparation for that, this apprenticeship legislation is very important. So I commend Bobby Scott, the chair of the Education and Labor Committee, for his ongoing work. We passed this last year, but it had bipartisan support. We hope it will again tomorrow. As you know, sadly, this week, the Congress recognized the service and sacrifice of Brian Sisnick, who died following the terrorist mob insurrection on January 6th. He passed on the 7th, the next day. We had that lying-in ceremony in the Capitol. And what was so important about it, of course, we paid our respects and sympathies to his family, who spoke so lovingly and beautifully about him, but also to see the connection among our Capitol Police and how they mourned the loss of their colleague. Indeed, Officer Signet is a martyr for democracy. That was martyrdom that he suffered, as well as the other who passed, Officer Good and Smith. And we will be honoring them appropriately at some point when it is sometime soon. But right now, when it came to danger in the Capitol, Officer Sisnick and the Capitol Police, whom we are enormously grateful, put themselves between us and the violence, saving lives and defending democracy. Indeed, Officer Sisnick was, again, a martyr for democracy. His service and that of other heroes in uniform, some of them of the Metropolitan Police of the District of Columbia, bring luster to our Constitution, as I said yesterday, and to our democracy. So very, very sad. To do the people's work, it is essential to keep the people safe and to keep this house safe. For our members, our staff, the custodial staff who make all of this possible, for those of you who cover it in the press, for our visitors, hopefully soon we'll have some again after COVID. And I want to salute the General Honore for his work in reviewing the security here. Well, I was honored that he accepted the charge to study how we keep members safe here as they do their jobs in Washington, in the Capitol, as they do their jobs in their districts, and their travel to and fro. Again, the security posture of the Capitol complex, and that includes the House office buildings, this will run until March 15th. One of the proposals that he made that we've already have some good news on is that it was clear that the Capitol Police had been severely affected by COVID. Separate and apart from everything else that's going on, like the rest of the country, they have been severely affected by COVID. And he recommended that we vaccinate the Capitol Police. And now, with the cooperation of the Biden administration, we were able to do that. And I thank the acting police chief for her statement that she put out this morning. Again, we have the threat from within, as you are all well aware. Some members refuse to comply with security protocols, to keep members, staff, police officers, everyone, including all of you, safe, which is why we are passing a rule mandating fines for non-compliance in that regard. You're aware of that, I'm sure. Also, in terms of acknowledging the threat, I remain profoundly concerned about House Republicans' leadership acceptance of extreme conspiracy theorists. Particularly disturbing is their eagerness to reward a QAnon adherent, a 9/11 truther, a harasser of child survivors of school shootings, and to give them valued committee positions, including who could imagine they would put such a person on the Education Committee. Today, the House will vote to remove Representative Green from her seat on Education and Labor and the Budget Committees. It's just so unfortunate. You would think that the Republican leadership in the Congress would have some sense of responsibility to this institution, as they did when they did not seat Representative King of Iowa 2 years ago. For some reason, they have chosen not to go down that path, even though Mr. Hoyer gave the leader, McCarthy, sufficient notice that this was a path we would follow. Again, I'm legislating on terms of the budget, in terms of the apprenticeship program, in terms of putting together our legislation for a commission similar to 9/11 Commission. I'm very pleased that others, and I commend Debbie Wasserman Schultz for taking the lead on honoring our oath of office to protect the Constitution, but not only that, to uphold a standard for the House of Representatives that respects the institution in which we serve and does no harm to it institutionally or to our members, staff, visitors personally. With that, I'd be pleased to take any questions. Let me see. Who you go?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a question, and I also have a question from one of the pool reporters who's unable to be here today, so if I could, they do go together. First, just looking ahead to the impeachment trial.
Was that an announcement that you're going to have 2 questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, is that all right with all the rest of you?
Just for another pool reporter.
One impeachment, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Looking ahead to the impeachment trial next week, it will be 1 month since the attack on the Capitol.
Yes.
The former president is long gone. There are plenty of people who say, why bother? Why go through this entire exercise? What do you say to them?
Well, I appreciate that question because it seems to me that the answer is self-evident. Again, we're here to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. The world witnessed the incitement that the president caused to incite a insurrection against our government, against our Capitol, against members of Congress, with the use of force and violence. For us to, why bother? Why bother? Ask our founders, why bother? Ask those who wrote the Constitution. Ask Abraham Lincoln. Ask anyone who cares about our democracy why we are bothering. You cannot go forward until you have justice. And what did we say about the preamble to the Constitution? Didn't we say it started out with justice? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice. You've heard me say again and again, Pope Paul VI said, if you want peace, work for justice. Martin Luther King, peace is not just the absence of dissension, it is the presence of justice. So we will honor the Constitution by establishing justice. And again, we can do a couple of things at once. We are moving with our legislation to pass the Biden-Harris administration COVID package. People, the whole world were witnesses to this, as I said before. So we'll see. I have no idea how the managers will proceed. I saw their brief when you saw their brief. I'm so proud of the dignity with which they have brought to enabling us to honor our Constitution. If we were not to follow up with this, we might as well remove any penalty from the Constitution of impeachment. Just take it out. But our founders, they knew about two things, and we keep hearing this again and again. They were fearful of a demagogue, and they were fearful of a demagogue and a mob. And that's exactly what descended. The effect of that is exactly what defended on the Constitution. But I want the public to know that there is no opportunity cost in our defending the Constitution. In fact, it is an enhancement for us to do our work in a way that is respectful of the institutions in which we serve, the Constitution, which we take an oath to protect and defend. Your other question?
Ma'am, our colleague from the LA Times had asked that the House managers are walking into a trial where all signs point to acquittal.
They don't know that.
What does a victory?
They don't know
she
that.
asks,
They don't know that. They haven't heard the case. They don't have the case, but in the court of the Senate, they will make their case. In the court of public opinion, they will make their case. And for history and posterity, as our founder said, to ourselves and our posterity, they will make the case. But I have great confidence in them, and we'll see. We'll see if it's going to be a Senate of courage or cowardice.
She asked, what does a victory look like?
Well, you know what? Why don't we just wait and let them make their case? They have been very, shall we say, silent, hardworking, brilliant in terms of what we saw in the brief. Not only wise, but you might appreciate, well written, and no spelling mistakes of the United States. So again, I'm not here to talk about that because they are going to be there to present the case. And we don't have to defend why it is necessary, and we don't have to talk about who's going to be there or not, because we just don't know. They know, and they will present it when they do. Yes, sir.
I was wondering what you thought of the Republican senators' plan. They went to the White House this week to meet with the president, and how much the plan is at 1.9. Joe Biden has indicated he wants to stay there. Is that where you think it'll end up?
Well, Joe Biden has presented a plan that meets the needs of the American people. This is very important because we have been, you see, I'm going to read this to you because I think this is very important for people to know. We'll get around 450,000 people who have died. Before you know it, sad to say, and hopefully we don't achieve it, but we're on a path to 500,000 people dying from COVID. And that is because of a complete failure on the part of the Trump administration. But don't take it from me. This is what the GAO in a 346-page government accountability document said. It said almost 90%, 27 of 31 of the GAO's recommendations from June, September, and November remain unimplemented as of January 15th, less than a week before Trump left office. GOP remains deeply troubled that the agencies have not acted on recommendations to more fully address official gaps in the medical supply chain, and the list goes on. We want to save lives and save livelihoods. It's going to cost some money to do so, but it is a good investment. And don't take it from us, whether you're talking about the chairman of the Fed, the Secretary of the Treasury, Mark Zandi, other economists have said, even the governor of West Virginia has said, go big rather than go small. And that's what we have to do. It is a reasonable plan. It meets the needs. It is not excessive. It is coronavirus-centric. It is in a timely fashion. And that's where we have to go if we are going to, again, put vaccine in people's arms, children in school, money in people's pockets, and workers back in their jobs. So it's pretty exciting what he's put there. And what we did at the end of December, plus this, is approximately what we have been advocating in the HEROES Act all along, 3.2. This comes up to nearly $3 trillion. But that's what beneath. So for the Republican senators to come in at $600 billion, 1/3, well, what is it? Are we going to feed fewer children? Are we going to inoculate fewer people? Are we going to, how do you cut that? I think they have not respected our heroes by supporting state and local government. These are the people who are on the first line, whether it's healthcare workers, police and fire, first responders of any kind, sanitation, transportation, food workers, our teachers, our teachers, our teachers, our schools. We have to invest in safely returning our children to school. So again, I just don't see how you have to make those choices about who you cut out when you decide to cut the funding in the package. Yes, sir, in the back.
Speaker, given some of the events in Russia and Burma this week, curious if you believe that the House will move forward with any sort of response, sanctions, anything like that.
Well, we look to the leadership of our new president on that score. I myself have been a supporter of sanctions of Burma at the time, going way back. I still call it Burma, as a matter of fact. And then, and of course, to really enforce the sanctions on Russia in a way that really reaches the, shall we say, enablers of Putin. But again, we'll take our lead from the president because he's made his voice clear to Putin, and he said and made a statement about Myanmar. And so in Myanmar, they said they were arresting her for importing illegal radios, and in Russia, they arrested Navalny for not reporting to his probation officer or something like that. So again, it's an interesting time to see demagoguery around the world, and we have to prevent it from happening in our country. Yes, Chuck?
Good morning, Madam Speaker, thank you. On the budget reconciliation package
Yes, sir.
for coronavirus, obviously there are a lot of Democratic policy priorities that they'd like to put in this. There's a hearing going on right now about the minimum wage with Marty Walsh. If some of those things, like the minimum wage, don't wind up in the bill, is because, you know, you have to work through this process, you have to get the votes. What's the message to folks who are saying this was our chance to get these things done? What do you say to those who are pushing for
It doesn't mean it won't happen just because they won't happen there. As you know, in many ways we're at the mercy of the Senate in terms of the Byrd Rule. And again, the parliamentarian of the Senate is going to make some determinations. We had hoped she would make them by now, but until we have our bill, which we now have, we don't have those determinations from her. But there's so much in the package that has to be done right now, and we'll do the best we can.
Do you have concern, though, that some who said, okay, Democrats are going to have the House, they're going to have the Senate, they're going to have the White House, and you say, you know, just because it's not in this bill doesn't mean it doesn't get done, but they will be disappointed, and how do you respond to them and say, look, you know, we're thinking
Well,
about
we already are introducing the minimum wage. That's a very high priority for us. But we can't, and we hope that we can get it in reconciliation. I'm a veteran of reconciliation bills over time, and I know the, shall we say, the struggle that it frequently is to have everything comply in a way that meets the standards of the Senate in terms of the Byrd Rule. We in the House think of it sort of a House of Lords attitude. Why don't we just pass what we can pass without having it being determined by one person as to what can be contained in there? Just put it on there, vote it up or vote it down. But in any event, we're very proud of the legislation, and again, it's not the last bill we'll pass. This is the rescue package. This is the rescue package. We must pass this bill to crush the virus, to save the lives and livelihoods of the American people, to put children back in school and people back to work. That is its purpose. We want to do it in a way that is fair, that addresses the disparities that have existed. Do you know, in the Native American community, 2 times as many people, percentage-wise, have died than whites? The disparity in the African American community and in the Hispanic community is sinful. So as we do this bill, we want to do so in a way that is fair and equitable and continue to do testing, et cetera, distribution of the virus, but keeping a record of how this has been distributed. Then hopefully we can get to a place where this bill will be a force for fairness rather than ossifying some of the unfairness that has gone before. Then we have the next bill will be, this is rescue, that's recovery. And we're already working with some of the provisions that we would have in a Recovery Act. We're legislators, that's why we're here, that's what we do. And so we're always getting ready for the next legislation. Build Back Better for the people. These were some of what we talked about. Joe Biden said help is on the way, and the recovery package with lower health care costs and bigger paychecks for the people is what we need to do. So just because something might not be in one bill, and we don't accept that yet, but if it isn't, we have other places to do it. In fact, I wish we were talking about a living wage, but $15 an hour is an important improvement over that. I just have time for one more question.
Speaker Pelosi, I'm just curious, as far as the impeachment trial is concerned, Senator Graham said that if the Democrats call any witness, that they'll be prepared, the Republicans will be prepared to call in the FBI and, quote, tell us about people who pre-planned this attack and what happened with the security footprint at the Capitol. What's your response to that?
Your question is a waste of time. Yes, sir.
Are you worried at all about the precedent that it would set in removing
not at all. Not at all. If any of our members threaten the safety of other members, we'd be the first ones to take them off of the committee. That's it. Thank you.
Are you willing to compromise on the eligibility for stimulus payments?
Just have the magic touch on it.
Wait, I've been here for more than a year now. It's been 3 months. It's been November 13th. It's 100%. I haven't gotten a question in 3 months. No, it says November 13th. And that was the question that you got back. I just assumed you were going to be all over MPG and that was my question, and then I had that, and then when I saw that, I was like, so, what we should do, if you guys are open to it, like next week, I'll take your question, you take mine, and if one of us gets called on it, be like, oh, Ann, like, ask your first question, and then be like, oh, for Leanne. I felt like with Sarah this morning. Like, she wasn't here.
Or just like